Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Language Arts Gallery. Today, in our Writing for Young Learners series, we're going to cover day 5 of our comparative essay. And today, we're going to focus on peer review. So, I'm going to walk you through how I teach peer review for my students. And this is aimed at second, third, maybe fourth graders. I think it might be a little simple for fourth graders if you've got some fourth grade students who are really struggling with the structure of an academic essay, particularly a comparative essay. You could use this lesson with those students, but it's largely aimed at second or third graders, and it follows the block approach to a comparative essay. So please remember to like, subscribe, and comment on this video so you get all the videos for the Writing for Young Learners series. So let's start by reviewing what a comparative essay is. Now, I tell my students that a comparative essay is simply going to talk about how things are similar and how things are different. It compares and it contrasts them. As we get older, when I teach comparative essays to my fourth, fifth, and sixth graders, we talk a little bit more about some other things, points of comparison. We talk about having a thesis and whether we argue if things are more similar or more different. But for our young learners, I just want them to talk about similarities and differences, and I want them to break those ideas up into paragraphs. That's why I teach the block method. So we're going to look at our mentor text or our model essay, and we're going to identify the different parts of this essay. We've got our introduction, we've got our two body paragraphs, we've got our similarities and our differences, and we've got our conclusion. Now, if we look at our two body paragraphs, we can see that the first body paragraph is very, very short. It's 4 sentences, 4 very short sentences. And our second body paragraph on differences is significantly longer. That's because this essay is focusing on the differences between this writer's hometown, Springfield, and Alaska. So because they're focusing on differences, the second body paragraph is meant to be longer. So let's go ahead and let's walk through this model essay. Alaska is like no place else on Earth. In some ways, it's like my hometown of Springfield. However, Alaska is mostly very different from Springfield. Alaska and Springfield are the same in some ways. Both places have beautiful animals. The seasons change in Springfield and in Alaska. In both places, people love to play sports. Springfield and Alaska have a lot of differences. Alaska has very different animals than Springfield. In Alaska, you can find polar bears, walruses, moose, and caribou. However, my hometown has horses, cows, and many kinds of birds. Alaska has long, cold winters and temperate summers, but Springfield has mild winters and hot summers. While people in my town like playing baseball and soccer, many people in Alaska enjoy winter sports, such as skiing and dog sled racing. In conclusion, Alaska and Springfield have both similarities and differences. However, they are mostly very different. Both are great places to live. Now, if we look at this essay, it's very, very simple, but it contains all of the important rhetorical features that we want young writers to include in their academic essays. And they can build upon this as they go to the higher grade levels. So we've got our hook here. Alaska is like no place else on Earth. The writers introduce the topic, and they've given us a very simple thesis statement saying Alaska is mostly very different from Springfield. Our first body paragraph, Alaska and Springfield are the same in some ways. That's a topic sentence. And then we've got supporting details. The same for body paragraph 2. Springfield and Alaska have a lot of differences. Another great topic sentence. And then we've got those more substantial supporting details because we're focusing on differences. Our conclusion signposts says in conclusion, we restate that Alaska and Springfield have both similarities and differences. However, they're mostly very different. And then the author ends with a concluding thought. Both are great places to live. So what I would do is I would walk through this model essay to model the peer review process. So let's talk a little bit about what that includes and what we want our students to do during the peer review process. We want to make sure that our students are working through a process writing approach to their academic essays. So hopefully we've already talked about revising our essays as we've gone through the first 4 days. We've made changes to our introduction, changes to our body paragraphs where we've added comparative language, and we've made changes to our conclusion. And we want to edit our work to make sure that it's perfect because we're going to publish after today. We want to make sure our spelling, our grammar, our punctuation, everything is as it should be. And it's always good to go over the rules for peer editing for our students. Most students are really good with this because I think students are a little bit, sometimes a little shy when it comes to sharing their own work. So my students have always been really understanding and really patient with their peers because they know what it's like to have to share their work in front of the class or with a small group. So still, we want to encourage them to be polite and give constructive criticism. I always model this for my students. What does constructive criticism look like? So here we've got an example. The second paragraph is unclear and stupid. I don't even know what you're saying. That is not constructive criticism. The second paragraph doesn't have enough detail. I would add to make it better. We want to be specific. Tell your partner how they can make their writing better. So another thing is encourage your students to be sure that they do give criticism. We don't want this to be a backslapping exercise where we just say, oh, good job, right? Everyone likes to be told that they did a good job, but we want our students to actually get better. There's an opportunity for our students to change essays, and they can reference this peer review worksheet, which looks just like this. They've got this, we've got this here, and we've got this for our conclusion, and this is all put together right here in this one worksheet that our students can take back to their seats, and they can check off whether their classmate has done all of these things, and they can add notes here, and then they can conference. That peer conferencing is really where the value comes in. All right, so thank you so much for joining me for this 5th video, and I look forward to seeing you in our next genre of writing for young learners.